Have you ever realized that your biggest enemy might be your own voice? Not the world, not bad luck, but the words you keep whispering to yourself. How many times have you talked yourself out of something before it even began? Just because a quiet thought said, "I'm not good at that." The truth is, most people don't fail because they can't. They fail because they decide they can't. Long before they ever try, you just talked yourself out of another opportunity again. Not because you weren't capable, but because you said, "I'm not good at that," before you even made an attempt. And the person who did try, they weren't more talented. They just didn't sabotage themselves with their own words. Stupid isn't about lacking intelligence. It's about saying things that quietly limit you without realizing you're doing it. Smart people destroy their potential all the time, not through lack of ability, but through the stories they repeat about themselves. You've seen it happen. Opportunities going to people less skilled than you. Relationships slipping away. Goals staying just out of reach. And each time you probably blamed the circumstances. Bad timing, bad luck, wrong people. But deep down, it wasn't the world shutting you out. It was your own words. The ones that quietly closed the door before you even tried to walk through it. Every time you say, "I'm just not good at that," or "That's just how I am," you're not being honest. You're building a cage. Not one made of steel bars, but of beliefs. And here's the worst part. You're the one holding the key, while convincing yourself that cage is permanent. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What you tell yourself over and over becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes the ceiling of what you'll ever attempt. Today, we'll uncover 8 everyday phrases that silently sabotage your potential. They sound harmless, maybe even humble, but they cost you more than you think. Number 5, especially, hides behind the mask of humility. Yet it's the reason you stay stuck. By the end, you'll see which of these self-defeating phrases you've been saying and how to stop limiting yourself with your own mouth. Because if you're tired of watching less capable people move forward while you stay still, this video will show you exactly why. So if you're ready to stop being your own worst enemy, hit subscribe, and let's start with the first phrase. "I'm just not good at that." You say it about math, mornings, money, creativity, technology, relationships, you name it. It slips out casually as if you're just being honest, as if it's a fact, not a choice. But it's not honesty. It's a cage made of 6 small words. And every time you repeat it, you lock the door tighter yourself. Here's what actually happens when you declare you're just not good at something. You stop trying. You give yourself permission to fail before you even begin. And worst of all, you start believing it's true. Not because you've tested it, but because you've said it enough times that your brain simply accepts it. I watched a friend do this for years with cooking. Every time someone suggested trying a recipe, the same response came out. "I'm just not good at cooking. I burn everything." She said it so often it became part of her identity. The person who can't cook. Then one day, she moved in with someone who also couldn't cook. Suddenly, it was either learn or live off takeout forever. 3 months later, she was making meals that actually tasted good. Not perfect, not gourmet, but good. Turns out she wasn't bad at cooking at all. She just never tried because she'd already decided she couldn't. That's what this statement really means. Not inability, but refusal to try, dressed up as being realistic. It protects your ego, but it also quietly kills your growth. Before we move on, remember what we just uncovered. When you say, "I'm not good at that," you're not confessing truth. You're choosing a cage. If you declare you can't do something, failure might sting less, but the cost is everything that skill could have opened for you. That's the silent tragedy. You trade temporary comfort for permanent limitation. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." You're not bad at something. You're simply untrained, unpracticed, at the beginning of a curve that every master once had to climb. That's not weakness, that's the starting point. When you say, "I'm just not good at this," what you're really saying is, "I'm afraid of being bad while I learn." And that fear, not your talent, keeps you stuck. It's not your lack of skill that stops you. It's your unwillingness to look inexperienced while you're growing. Every expert you admire today once stood exactly where you are. Unsure, awkward, fumbling through the basics. The only difference? They didn't declare permanent inability. They said, "I'm not good at this, yet." And they kept going. So the next time you catch yourself saying you're not good at something, add one small word. Yet. Notice how that feels. One phrase slams the door shut. The other leaves it open, wide enough for growth to walk through. Declaring permanent inability is the first way we limit ourselves. But the second one is far more subtle. It sounds like honesty, but it's actually cruelty wearing a mask. Thing 2. I'm just too honest. People can't handle it. You pride yourself on being brutally honest. You tell it like it is, no filters, no sugarcoating. And when people react badly, you shrug and say, "If they can't handle my honesty, that's their problem." You think this makes you real, strong, authentic. It doesn't. It just makes you cruel. And honesty has become your favorite excuse. Here's the truth no one wants to tell you. Brutal honesty isn't honesty. It's just brutality, with better marketing. Real honesty doesn't need cruelty to be powerful. If you can't tell the truth without cutting someone down, you're not honest, you're careless. I knew someone like this at work. Every meeting, every feedback session felt like a punch. They called people's ideas stupid. Told one coworker their presentation was embarrassing. Told another they needed to get their act together. And after every verbal blow came the same excuse. "Hey, I'm just being honest." 6 months later, no one asked for their opinion anymore. They were left out of projects, decisions, even lunch conversations. And still, they blamed everyone else. They're too sensitive, they said. They can't handle real feedback. They never once stopped to consider that maybe the problem wasn't the truth they were telling. It was the weapon they'd turned it into. The Stoics valued truth deeply, but they also valued kindness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Kindness is invincible." He knew truth without compassion isn't wisdom, it's just violence wearing honesty's mask. When you say, "I'm too honest, people can't handle it," what you're really saying is, "I haven't learned how to speak truth with respect." You haven't developed the skill of delivering difficult truths without destroying the person receiving them. And instead of admitting that's a gap in your communication, you call it a virtue. But honesty doesn't require brutality. You can tell someone their work needs improvement without calling it garbage. You can disagree without making them feel stupid. Real strength isn't in how hard you hit with truth. It's in how gently you can deliver it and still make it heard. You can be direct without being cruel. That actually takes more skill, not less. It's easy to blurt out harsh truths and call it authenticity. But it takes emotional discipline to deliver truth in a way that heals, not harms. The people who can't handle your honesty, maybe they're not too sensitive, maybe you're just being mean and calling it real. There's a difference between honest feedback that helps someone grow and harsh criticism that simply makes you feel superior. So the next time you're about to be brutally honest, pause and ask yourself, am I saying this to help them or to prove I'm right? If it's the second one, you're not being honest. You're being cruel, hiding behind a virtue you don't actually have. If you've ever caught yourself using honesty as an excuse for harshness, write this down right now. I choose kindness with truth. Because the very fact that you can recognize it means you're already wiser than you were yesterday. Being mean isn't strength. It's insecurity wearing armor. Now let's talk about the third way we sabotage ourselves. It sounds like taking responsibility, but it's the opposite. Thing 3. Everyone is always against me. Nothing ever seems to go your way. Every setback feels unfair. Every failure has someone else to blame. Your boss is playing favorites. Your friends don't really support you. The system's rigged. The world feels like it's pushing against you while helping everyone else. But this isn't awareness. It's paranoia disguised as pattern recognition. And it's slowly stealing your power. Here's what actually happens. When you believe everyone's against you, you give away every ounce of control you have. Every failure becomes proof of conspiracy instead of an opportunity to grow. Every criticism becomes a personal attack instead of feedback that could make you better. You become the victim in every story. And when you're always the victim, you're never the solution. I once watched someone destroy their entire career with this mindset. They were passed over for a promotion and said the manager was playing favorites. Their project failed, and they blamed their team for not supporting them. A client complained, and they said the client was unreasonable. Eventually, they lost the job entirely, and of course, the company had it out for them from the start. Not once did they look at their own performance. The missed deadlines, the poor communication, the refusal to accept feedback. Every single problem had an external cause. Every failure was someone else's fault. And because they never examined their own role, they repeated the same story. Job after job, place after place. Different faces, same ending. Everyone's against me. The Stoics understood this trap perfectly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. The world isn't conspiring against you. It's simply indifferent." But that indifference feels personal when you're desperate to find someone to blame. When you say, "Everyone's always against me," what you're really saying is, "I refuse to look at my part in the outcome." It's easier to point fingers at others than to admit you might be repeating a pattern of your own making. But here's the truth. Victim narratives protect your ego and destroy your power. Sometimes people really are unfair. Sometimes systems truly are broken. Sometimes you just get unlucky. But if everyone is always against you, if every situation ends the same way, the common factor isn't them. It's you, and until you're willing to face that, nothing changes. You can keep believing the world is out to get you, or you can recognize something deeper, that obstacles are universal, not personal. That most people are too busy with their own battles to conspire against yours. And that maybe, just maybe, your repeated failures have less to do with persecution and more to do with the patterns you've refused to see. The next time something goes wrong, before you point a finger at the world, pause and ask yourself, what role did I play in this? That single question gives you your power back. Because every time you blame others, you hand that power away. Playing the victim might feel safe. You don't have to face your mistakes. But safety isn't growth, and staying there means you keep reliving the same story over and over. Now comes the fourth way people quietly sabotage themselves. It sounds like humility, but it's really fear. Thing 4. I'm not smart enough for that. Someone mentions an opportunity, a new course, a promotion, a project, a challenge. And before you even consider it, you shut yourself down. The words come out automatically. I'm not smart enough for that. That's for intelligent people? I could never do what they do. You think you're just being realistic. But in truth, you're being afraid and using intelligence as an excuse to avoid discomfort. Here's the truth. It's not intelligence that's holding you back. It's fear. You're afraid of looking foolish while you're learning, afraid of being the slowest person in the room, afraid someone might realize you're not as capable as you pretend to be. So you protect yourself before anyone else can judge you by quietly disqualifying yourself from the start. You tell yourself you're not smart enough, but you've never even tested that belief. I have a cousin who lived like this for years. Everyone in our family had a college degree, except them. And every time someone brought up education, they'd wave it off. Not smart enough for university. Those courses are for naturally gifted people. Then one day, their company offered to pay for employee training. There was no excuse left, so they enrolled, terrified, convinced they'd fail, convinced they'd finally prove they weren't smart. But they didn't fail. They passed. Not at the top of the class, not with perfect grades, but they finished. They learned, they grew, they earned that certification, and their biggest discovery wasn't that they were smart. It was realizing that intelligence was never the barrier, effort was. They had wasted 10 years avoiding opportunities, not because their brain couldn't handle it, but because their fear convinced them it couldn't. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And it's equally impossible to learn what you've already decided you can't. You're not smart enough. You're just unwilling to be uncomfortable while you learn. When you say, 'I'm not smart enough,' what you really mean is, 'I'd rather protect my ego than risk looking incompetent, even temporarily.' You're confusing what you know now with what you're capable of learning later. Intelligence isn't fixed. It's developed. And every time you label yourself not smart enough, you freeze that growth. You turn ignorance into identity. Most of the things you think require intelligence actually require something simpler: patience, practice, and the humility to be bad before you get good. That's not about being smart. That's about being persistent. But you quit before you even start. You're not protecting yourself from failure when you say you're not smart enough. You're guaranteeing it. Because the only way to truly fail is to never try. And yet, you call that wisdom. So the next time you hear that voice whisper, "I'm not smart enough," ask yourself, have I actually tried and failed? Or am I just afraid to look stupid while learning? Most of the time, it's the second one. If you've caught yourself saying any of these 4 things, it's time to stop. Because the next 4 will reveal exactly how you keep sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. Thing 5. I'm just unlucky. Nothing ever works out for you. Other people get the breaks. You get the setbacks. They succeed. You struggle. And it's never your fault. You're just unlucky. Bad timing. Wrong circumstances. The universe just isn't on your side. It all sounds reasonable, even modest. But it's not humility. It's you handing over your control and calling it fate. Here's what really happens when you blame luck for your outcomes. You stop examining your choices. Every failure becomes evidence of some cosmic injustice instead of the natural result of your own decisions. And when that happens, you stop learning. You stop adjusting. You stop taking responsibility, because if everything is about luck, then there's nothing for you to change, right? You just sit there waiting for your turn, and it never comes. I once knew someone who blamed bad luck for every failed relationship. 3 serious relationships all ended the same way. Every time. Just bad timing. Wrong person. Unlucky again. Never their fault. Never their patterns. Just a string of unfortunate coincidences that kept repeating. But when you looked closer, the truth was obvious. The same behaviors every single time. Avoiding hard conversations. Letting resentment pile up. Expecting their partner to read their mind. Never expressing their needs clearly. Then, when things fell apart, they acted shocked. They called it bad luck, when it was really just the predictable consequence of choices they kept repeating. It took a fourth breakup for them to finally whisper to themselves, maybe it's not luck. Maybe it's me. That one question changed everything, not because the answer was comfortable, but because it gave them back their power. If it was all luck, they were helpless. But if it was them, they could change. The Stoics rejected luck as the ruler of life. Seneca wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." What most people call bad luck is usually lack of preparation, poor decisions or patterns they refuse to see. Sure, random things happen, but consistent bad luck? That's not the universe. That's you. When you say, "I'm just unlucky," what you're really saying is, "I don't want to take ownership of my outcomes." It's easier to blame the stars than to admit your own decisions led you here. Luck is a comforting story, but it keeps you powerless. Responsibility is uncomfortable, but it gives you control. You can't control everything, but you control far more than you admit. Your preparation, your habits, your choices, your reactions, your patterns. Blaming luck means you never examine any of it. You never improve. You just keep waiting for circumstances to magically change while you stay exactly the same. Most of what you call bad luck is really just the consequences you didn't want to face. And calling it luck means you never have to learn from it. So next time something doesn't work out, ask yourself, before I blame luck, what choices led me here? What patterns am I repeating? What could I have done differently? Because those questions give you power. Luck takes it away. Blaming luck feels safe. But now comes the sixth trap. One that sounds productive, but is actually just avoidance. Thing 6. I'm too busy. You're always busy. Too busy to exercise. Too busy to see your friends. Too busy to call your family. Too busy to learn a new skill. Too busy to work on your goals. Busy isn't just your schedule. It's become your identity. And you wear it like a badge of honor. But here's the truth. It's not honorable. It's an excuse. And everyone can see through it, except you. The truth about being too busy is simple. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference isn't how much time you have. It's what you choose to do with it. When you say, "I'm too busy," what you're really saying is, "This just isn't important enough to me." But instead of admitting that, you hide behind the easiest, most socially acceptable excuse in the world. "I'm busy. I watched someone live this way for years." Too busy to go to the gym. Too busy to meet friends. Too busy to spend real quality time with their kids, but somehow, never too busy to scroll on social media for 2 hours every night. Never too busy to binge watch entire TV seasons on the weekend. Never too busy for anything that required zero effort. Then one day, everything changed. They had a health scare. Suddenly, they found time to work out 5 days a week. Time to meal prep. Time for doctor's appointments, therapy sessions, and rest. The time had always been there. They just weren't willing to use it until crisis forced them to. That's what too busy really means. It's not that you lack time. It's that you're choosing to spend it on what's easier, more comfortable, less demanding, and you don't want to admit it. Instead of being honest about your priorities, you blame your schedule. The Stoics saw this pattern clearly. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You're not too busy. You're just wasting time on things that don't matter, then claiming you have no time for the things that do. When you say, "I'm too busy," what you're really saying is, "I'm afraid to admit what actually matters to me." Because saying, "I choose not to prioritize my health," or "I choose not to work on my goals," sounds terrible. But "I'm too busy" sounds noble. Like you're a victim of circumstance instead of the author of your choices. You're not a victim. You're just making choices and refusing to own them. Being busy feels productive. It makes you feel needed, important, in demand. But the truth? Most of your busy is just noise, filling the silence with meaningless urgency so you don't have to face what actually matters. Because what matters is often uncomfortable. It requires effort, patience, vulnerability, and it forces you to confront the things you've been avoiding. You always have time for what you make time for. Everything else is simply a choice not to prioritize it, and calling that busy is just lying to yourself about your own priorities. So next time you say, "I'm too busy," finish the sentence honestly. Too busy compared to what? Too busy to grow? Too busy to rest? Or too busy compared to scrolling, watching TV, and doing nothing? Because that's usually the truth. Being too busy isn't productivity. It's avoidance. Now comes the seventh way we sabotage ourselves. It sounds like high standards, but it's actually fear. Thing 7. I'm such a perfectionist. You call yourself a perfectionist. Say it like it's a virtue with a tiny flaw attached. A blessing and a curse. You tell yourself, I just can't do things halfway. My standards are too high. I'd rather not do something at all than do it imperfectly. It sounds admirable, but it's not. It's fear wearing the costume of excellence. Here's what actually happens when you call yourself a perfectionist. You start nothing. You finish nothing. You accomplish nothing, because nothing ever feels good enough. And instead of admitting that you're paralyzed by fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being impressive enough, you blame your high standards. It makes your hesitation sound noble, instead of what it truly is, cowardice. I once knew someone like this. They called themselves a perfectionist for years. Started writing a book, never finished. Started a business plan, never launched. Started learning piano, quit after 3 months. Every single time. The same excuse. It's not good enough yet. I'll show it when it's better. I just need to reach a certain level first. And so, they stayed stuck in the endless loop of almost ready. Meanwhile, people with half your talent are finishing books, launching businesses, performing on stage. Not because their work is perfect, but because they're willing to be imperfect in public. They understand something the perfectionist never does. Doing it badly beats not doing it perfectly every single time. That perfectionist friend, they're still planning, still tweaking, still waiting for that magical right moment when everything's flawless. And after all those years of high standards, they still have nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, the people they once quietly looked down on for producing imperfect work, they've passed them 5 times over. The Stoics valued progress over perfection. Marcus Aurelius understood that perfection is an illusion, but progress, that's real. Waiting for perfect means waiting forever. Perfectionism isn't excellence. It's fear disguised as refinement. It's a sophisticated way of never risking being seen as anything less than flawless. When you call yourself a perfectionist, what you're really saying is, I'd rather be seen as someone with high standards who did nothing than someone who tried and created something imperfect. Your ego matters more than your output. You protect that ego by keeping your work hidden, safe from judgment, safe from rejection, safe from growth. But here's the truth. Perfectionism isn't about quality. It's about control. If you never finish, no one can criticize you. If you never share, no one can reject you. If you never try, you can't fail. And you get to keep telling yourself and everyone else that you could have done it perfectly. If only you wanted to, but you didn't. Real excellence doesn't come from control. It comes from iteration. From doing something badly, learning, doing it better, and learning again. Perfectionists skip that entire process. They stay stuck in endless planning and call their paralysis high standards. So next time you catch yourself saying, I'm a perfectionist, ask honestly, am I pursuing excellence or avoiding judgment? Because most of the time, it's the second one, hiding behind the first. Perfectionism isn't excellence. It's fear. Now let's talk about the eighth and final trap. It's the ultimate excuse, the one that kills all growth. Thing 8. That's just how I am. Someone points out a behavior that hurts others, a habit that holds you back, a pattern that damages relationships. And you have the perfect defense ready. That's just how I am. It's my personality. I can't change who I am. Take it or leave it. Sounds like self-acceptance, doesn't it? It's not. It's just fear of growth wearing the mask of authenticity. Because here's what that statement really means. I've decided this behavior is permanent, so I don't have to take responsibility for changing it. I'm comfortable where I am, and changing would be uncomfortable. So I'll call my unwillingness to grow my true self. And if others don't like it, that's their problem. I watched someone lose their entire family because of this mindset. They were reactive, quick to anger, said hurtful things in arguments, and never apologized. Every time someone called them out, they said, "That's just how I am. Been like this my whole life. Not gonna change now." If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And one by one, their relationships fell apart. Friends stopped calling. Siblings stopped inviting them. Even their own children kept their distance, and through all of it, same response. They're too sensitive. They just can't accept me. Never once did they consider that maybe, just maybe, the version of themselves they refused to change wasn't someone people wanted to be around. Personality isn't destiny. How you are is simply the result of choices you've made repeatedly until they became habits. And habits aren't fate. Automatic doesn't mean unchangeable. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. You are not fixed. You're constantly becoming. Every single day you're choosing who to be, and when you say, 'That's just how I am,' what you're really saying is, 'I choose comfort over growth. I'd rather lose relationships than face the discomfort of change. I'd rather be right about who I am than become someone better.' Your ego matters more than your evolution. You're not protecting your authentic self. You're protecting habits you're too scared or too lazy to change, and you're using personality as a shield against accountability, as an excuse to never ask whether who you are is who you actually want to be. Every day you decide how you speak, how you react, how you treat others. None of it is fixed. All of it is chosen. That's just how I am is pretending those choices don't exist, pretending you're powerless to change. But the truth is, you just don't want to try. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "That's just how I am," ask yourself, is this truly unchangeable? Or am I just choosing not to change? Because most of the time it's the second one, disguised as the first. 8 statements. I'm not good at that. I'm too honest. Everyone's against me. I'm not smart enough. I'm just unlucky. I'm too busy. I'm a perfectionist. That's just how I am. If you recognized yourself in any of these, congratulations. Awareness is the first step toward change. None of these are truths. They're habits of thought that limit you. The Stoics knew you're not fixed. You're becoming every single day. Epictetus taught it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. What you say about yourself is how you're reacting to yourself. And these statements, they're not truths. They're reactions rooted in fear, comfort, and avoidance. So, change what you say. Change how you see yourself. And you'll change who you become. Because what you say about yourself shapes everything. Make sure it's wise. Stay stoic.